Good day. This is Dr. Jana Price-Sharps from Mind Pilot. Today we're going to talk about let it go. Ooh, not an easy thing for people to do. Have you ever been in the kitchen and your significant other or spouse is about ready to do something and you want to explain to them in detail why they shouldn't do that? Maybe they're making a choice about where to stop for gas. Maybe they're making a choice of where they want to eat. Maybe they're making a choice of job change. How many of you, and I include myself in this, so I'm not an innocent bystander here, how many of you want to jump into the middle of that and resolve the problem for them? I think that's very common. It's super common with first responders because if the problem isn't solved in your line of work, people die. So it's very difficult to just let it go. Let people do what they're going to do. Now, I'm not saying you can never get feedback. Obviously, you can. But feedback depends on how you give it, whether it's accepted. If you start issuing orders, which is what most first responders do, and by the way, many first responders are married to teachers, and teachers do the same thing. The difference is, especially if it's K through 6, they give the orders as if they're in a classroom with fourth graders. So it sounds a little bit different, but the orders are still the orders. What do you do when you see somebody you love doing something and you just can't stand it anymore? You've got to say something. Well, first of all, timing is everything. Are you going to bring it up right in the midst of everything? There might be times you need to, but there's probably also times that you can wait and maybe do it, I don't know, on your weekend off, whatever your weekend is, when you're having coffee with your significant other or spouse and say, the other day when you were doing this, I was thinking, have you ever thought maybe this, something along that line, rather than, on Thursday I saw you doing this and that never works, right? That's a stupid thing to do. That doesn't go well because they shut you down right there. They don't hear another word that you say. And now the fight is on. The beginning of the contest of wills. Okay? So you want to think about how you approach people when you want to give them feedback. Sometimes I'll ask people that are in my personal life, I'll say, okay, are you wanting feedback or do you just need me to listen? Now, that's really hard for me. When somebody I love, I think, is about ready to make this huge mistake, it's really hard for me not to jump in the middle of that. But I have found that when I say it that way, they're much more receptive to what I have to say, because very often they'll say, well, I kind of want to gripe a little bit, but then I want to hear what you have to say. Okay, so now they've given you an opening, and they're ready to listen. Okay. The other thing is you can say, it sounds like it's a really tough time. I'm sorry you're going through that. If you ever want some help with that, let me know. But if they say, no, I really don't, I've got this, I have a plan, let go. Ooh, hard stuff. I know. I can hear you rolling your eyes right now. But the thing is, it'll save your relationships. Because very often that person will come back to you and say, okay, that didn't work out so well. Can you give me some feedback? But if you become very assertive and tell them all the things that they're doing wrong, they probably won't come back and ask you or try and talk to you or try and work it through. They'll just shut you down and shut you out. How about at work? Let's say you see somebody doing something stupid at work. Never happens, right? Are there times that you should let it go? Probably. Are there times you can't let it go because it put people in danger? It was, a very bad thing to do. Okay, Yeah, you need to give that person feedback. But again, how do you give the feedback? And it also depends on the generation. Talking to a younger person may be different than talking to an old timer. How do you bring things up? How do you approach things if you can't let it go? Ask yourself, do I need to let this go? A very, very close friend of mine who died several years ago, but I had gone to him and asked him about a really very obnoxious situation at work. And I told him what was going on. And I was hot. And I was going to, go all the way in a complaint and everything else because it was an incredibly unethical thing for that person to do, but they did it towards me. So patients didn't get hurt, but it was an attack on me in front of patients. And I was just livid. And he listened. He was a wise man. And he just listened to me. And pretty soon he said, okay, so let me ask you something. You go ahead and do this. What's going to happen? And he stopped me in my tracks. And I went, well, she will spend the rest of her life attacking me because that's the kind of person she was. And he goes, is it worth it? No. He said, all right. Well, that's kind of how I weigh things out. Is it worth it? How is this going to end? If I do confront or I do go above to the superiors, how is it going to play out for me? Is it worth it? Now, obviously, there's ethical things and life or death issues that you don't have any choice, but this was not one of those. So when you're trying to make a decision, do I jump into this feet first? Where am I going to land? How is it going to play out? Play it out in your mind. Okay, I'm going to go do this, and then it's probably going to do this. Then this is probably going to happen, and this is going to make my life worse. Or I could do this, and I have a reasonable supervisor that is good about listening. His supervisor is top-notch, so maybe something will get done about this. Okay, then maybe you go ahead and go do it. But play it forward before you make that choice. Do you need to just let things go? Do you need to take action? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But be very mindful of what you're going to do and how you're going to handle it. And if you have a temper, if you can, go home or go someplace, cool down, work it through, and then make a decision. Don't ever start typing the email when you're mad, unless it's going to hurt somebody or get somebody killed. Otherwise, wait. Maybe write it out in pen and paper, and then at some point, maybe you burn it. Maybe you decide, no, I've got it out of my system. I can let this go. But be mindful of that. So often people react, and they react strongly, and then they pay for the consequences years later. Think about what you're doing, how you're responding, and make a decision. But make that decision when you can, when you're cooled down. A lot of things you may just let go. Up to you. Absolutely up to you. But think it through. Make a plan. Because you know what? You have the right to be happy. And you have the right to have a good life without a lot of chaos. Your jobs are already chaotic enough. But you do have the right to be happy. So, consider your decisions. Take care of you. I hope you have a wonderful day. This is Dr. Jana Price-Sharps from Mind Pilot.